Hi, I'm Suzy and I'm just going to do a very quick morning in. I have Sarah as my student today. So we're going to start standing up. So we're coming into dangling pose. And this is the only standing pose for yin, but it's a beautiful spine stretcher, perfect for when you just wake up in the morning. So just make sure that your feet are hip width apart, just have a little micro bend in them. And then on an exhalation, you're just going to bend from the hips. You can put your hands on your hips before you just kind of go over, but keep the knees nice and soft. You want to feel that sensation of your spine gently stretching and releasing. So breathe in and then you can look up. And then as you exhale, just softening through the knees and just let your hands come down. Sarah's very flexible, so stop where you can stop and then keep the knees nice and bent, and that just kind of protects the hips. So begin to just breathe in and release and just feel through the stretch. And just let your mind release before it gets filled with the day's activities. Bring your awareness to your hips. See if you can just soften your hips further. Visualize your spine stretching and releasing, your shoulders releasing. If this feels uncomfortable for your hands, you can hold on to your elbows, and that just helps that gentle stretch of the spine. Bring awareness into your breath and just notice the coolness of the air as it comes in and then the warmth as it leaves your nostrils. And then you can be in this posture between about 1 and 3 minutes. We're going to work at 1.5 minutes. And then on your last breath, just take another deep breath, and this just signifies to your mind that you're about to move, keeping the knees bent. Come up vertebrae by vertebrae and really slowly, there's no rush. Let your head be the last to come up. And then just release the shoulders down. Just take a little wider than hip stance, turning the toes out to the side, and we're just going to come into a squat. So you can bring your hands to heart center and then come down into your squat. And then just make sure that your spine's nice and lifted and then you're not sitting into the squat. So imagine that you're lifting up. Again, come back to your breath, just keeping the inhalation and exhalation at an even pace. And then gently release your hands and just come to sit on the mat. Bringing the feet onto the mat. You can have your toes and knees probably about a fistful apart. Just bring your hands behind you. Keep lifted through your spine, and you're just going to cross your right leg over your left leg, and we're just going to come into seated swan. So keeping that right foot flexed, using your left leg as a lever. So if you can feel the nice stretch in your right hip, you can stay there. Bring your hands behind so your spine's nice and lifted, and then just you can gently rock from side to side. If you want to increase the sensation, just bring that left leg into you. So you kind of, and use the hands to stretch out through the spine. And you should feel that really nice stretch in your hip. And then come to a nice still pace. That's it. And then bring your awareness to the stretch in the hip. Keep the foot always flexed, because that's going to protect the knee. So because we're in a morning rush, we'll stay here for about 10 breaths. At the end of your last breath, just bring that leg back down to join the left leg. And then you can just stretch the legs out, just kind of move the feet round the ankle joint. And just pause for a moment and just see whether you can feel the sensation, the vibration through that stretched hip, and how alive it feels compared to the left one. And then begin to repeat on the other side. So start by just bending the knees, and just again notice the difference of sensation between the right side and the left side. So always make sure that when you go onto the other side, you just move that little bit slower, because it might be stiffer, or you might feel that you can go further. Again, start with the lever leg kind of a bit out. You can kind of just move from side to side. You don't want to feel any pinching in your lower spine. Keeping that left foot flexed, and then you can bring that right foot in if you want to, and then come to stillness. Really breathe into that left hip. Again, do a quick body scan just to check you're not holding any tension in your jaw or in your shoulders or in your lower spine. And just check you haven't locked your elbows out. Again, we're going to be here for roughly about 10 breaths. So when you come to the end of your 10th breath, just gently release the foot. Bringing both feet to the floor, and you can just gently windshield wipe your legs from side to side. And then to prepare us for the day, we just want to soften through the hips. So we're going to come into water bug pose. So come to tabletop. Just check that the weight is evenly distributed, between the hands and the feet. And then you're going to bring your right foot out to the side with your toes facing forward. Just check there's no pinching in the lower spine. I'll mirror you so we look the same. Have a couple of breaths here. You're welcome to stay here. So this is stage 1. If this feels comfortable in that hip, then just come to sit down on the kneeling leg. So you're going to feel a beautiful stretch coming from your inner thigh. And then you can just bring your elbows to the floor, let your head dangle, or if you want further, you can bring the arms out. So you're feeling a beautiful stretch through the inner leg. And we'll just stay here for about 10 breaths. Again, as you're settling, just check that you're not holding any tension in the jaw or the shoulders. You want all the muscles to be released so we can get into the connective tissues and the ligaments and the joints. Again, at the end of your kind of 10th breath, just very gently start to come up onto tabletop. And then coming out of that pose, just bend the knee and then just gently bring it back. If you want to just come to sit onto your mat, you can just massage your knees. You might have a blanket or a pillow underneath the knees just to protect them if they're sometimes a little bit sensitive. Kind of moving the feet around the ankle joint, anything that just brings kind of comfort to you. And then we'll begin to set up for the other side. So go in stages, don't go too fast. So just check that your weight is evenly distributed. Have a couple of breaths here, then you're going to bring your left leg out. Make sure the toes are pointing forward, and just check that there's no cramping in that hip or pinching in the lower spine. Have a couple of breaths here, and then gently come to sitting on that leg. And again, take your time to come into the pose. You may find that your toes kind of leave the floor and it's just the side of your big toe and heel that is still attached to the mat. That is fine. You don't want any stress around the kneecap. So again, listen to your body, and then come into whichever pose. So you can keep your elbows bent or you can straighten them. Just check that there's no tension in that knee. And again, you can hold this pose between 1.5 minutes and 3 minutes. I wouldn't do any longer, but or you can just do 10 breaths. And then on your last breath, gently just bring the hands back, comes back to tabletop, bending of the knee, and then from here just come to lie on your front, either on the mat or on the floor. And then just feel the sensation between the right side and the left side. And then we're going to come into Sphinx position. So from there, you're just going to bring your arms down to the side. And then just check that they're just a little bit in front of the shoulders as you lift your chest. So you don't want to go too far because it's early morning and you just want to feel a lovely stretch in your lower spine. Again, you can keep your gaze down at your mat, or you can stretch to look in front of you. Just check the shoulders are nice and relaxed and there's no tension. Come back to your breath. Just regulate long inhalations and long exhalations, and this is going to keep you nice and relaxed throughout the day. And then come to your last 5 breaths. Just check you're relaxing the shoulders. And then to come out of this posture, you can either just come back into child's pose, come sit on the mat, or you can bring your head down onto the mat and roll over onto the side. So whichever way serves you. And then just come to sitting cross-legged. Normally we'd finish in a Shavasana, but because it's early morning, we want to wake up for the day. Just come to easy pose, or you can just sit with your legs out in front. Again, just visualize the spine straightening, the muscles all around the hips and the knees are softened. And then come back to your breathing. And maybe set yourself an intention for the day. So namaste, and have a wonderful day. That rhymes. You need like a... Yeah.